I want to introduce our first project of the semester, which is called the CSS Zen Garden. And a couple things that I want to talk about today is the first part of the project. So in this first week of the project, you are not going to be doing any HTML or CSS coding unless that's your preference for creating mockups. And if you like to create mockups using CSS and HTML, then you can code. But the requirement for this week is for you to create one wireframe and two mockups for this project that we're going to be working on. It's called the Introduction to the CSS Zen project. And there's a website called CSS Zen Garden that is linked from the course agenda, and it looks like this. The cool thing about this website is it shows the power of CSS and cascading style sheets. What I'm looking at right now is csszengarden.com. And you can see that at the very top of this page, you can download the HTML and the CSS file. So starting next week, we are all going to download the exact same HTML file. And then working with CSS, you guys are going to create your own CSS Zen Garden design by manipulating and changing the CSS file. So what we're looking at here is one version of this website, but if we go to, say, Steel, this is the exact same HTML file, but it has a different styled sheet attached to it. And you'll notice when I click on all of these different, so here is another one. So same HTML, different CSS. The idea is that after this project is completed, you will have your own design that you've created for your own CSS Zen Garden with your own theme, and it'll look different from everybody else's. I want to go over the project specifications, and just to be clear that in 1 week, what you'll have do is nothing related to coding this week. You're just working on your mockups and your wireframes. So let's go ahead and look at the project specifications. I want to ignore the due dates for right now. You can read those at your leisure, but I want to talk about the details of the project. So for this project, you will test all of the skills you have learned in the first half of the class to create your own CSS Zen Garden theme. You're going to start by downloading the HTML file, and you're going to change the artistic design by changing only the CSS file. You will not be doing that this week though. This week, all you're focused on is deciding on what your theme is going to be. Maybe you love to snowboard, or maybe you love playing guitar. Whatever your theme is, you are going to create two mockups for me and one wireframe. So the way that this works is that you're not going to be able to manipulate the HTML document except for adding your external style sheet, and you can also add Google Fonts. The CSS file you create must incorporate all the techniques we've learned so far in class, and the images that you use must be copyright free so that you can submit them to the Zen Garden site. First, you can take a look at all the designs featured on the CSS Zen Garden site for inspiration. I went over a couple of them, but at your leisure you can do that as well. And then the technical skills you're going to be working on after you do your mockups and your wireframe is you need to have 5 images on this project. You need to have 5 IDs, 2 Google Fonts. You're going to define spacing using CSS. You'll use floats to position elements like we did this last week. You're going to have a nice aesthetic color palette. You'll manipulate your margins to accommodate the design that you have, and you'll include padding and borders. This week, I'd like you to look at some of the previous student examples. So these are students that have taken this class, and here is what Amy's Zen Garden looked like. She went for this theme. And when we talk about putting images in, you do not have to put a lot of images in, but you're going to have 5 images that you incorporate into the background of the CSS. And those images don't have to be, big like this one that you see on the screen. They can be smaller as well. Joyce wanted to go somewhere tropical during the winter when she took this course. And so she made hers more of a tropical theme. And you can see that some of her pictures, like she found this little road that she put next to the Road of Enlightenment. She found some bigger pictures, but she also found some little tiny pictures to put in there as well. Rachel Tika went with a minimalist design, and she has a lot of line art and vector images in her CSS Zen Garden design. Logan Buck, he drew some really fun graphics and made this theme. Brittany Harris went for an artistic theme, and she put some different artistic touches to it. Marcus, for all of you IT majors, he did a Windows theme, and his images include these little X's for the title bar. And then one of my favorites is Samuel Moore. He made his CSS Zen Garden in this magnifying glass, so you actually can scroll through and see the Zen Garden information inside of the magnifying glass. So this week, to be clear, what you guys are working on is you are going to create your, you're more than welcome to go to the CSS Zen Garden site if you want to pull all the text off of here for your mockups. You also can just put the title, like requirements, and then you can put Latin text in your mockups. You don't necessarily have to use this text, but because the text is specific, it's probably easier for you to just copy all of the text and put that in your mockup. Now, just to review what the differences between your wireframe and your mockup are, is your wireframe is going to be how you are laying out the site. So if I were going to create a wireframe of this design that I'm looking at on the screen right now, I would make sure that I had a banner at the top with an X going across it because that's an image. And then I would just have a text box going down the left side. I'd have another text box going on the right. Then I would have my links and some more text, and then my footer at the bottom. Now, once you do your wireframe, remember that doesn't have anything but the layout of where everything's going, then you're going to give me 2 mockups. Now, these 2 mockups need to be very different because as a client, I want to see 2 different themes and I want to see how you do that. You do not have to do 2 wireframes unless you decide that you want your mockups to have a very different layout. And if that's the case, you need to give me 2 wireframes and 2 mockups. So I'm okay with 1 wireframe and then changing the theme and the colors and everything and then giving me 2 themes to choose from. But if you want to get really creative and have different layouts from your 2 different mockups, then you need to give me 2 wireframes. So this week, that's all you're in charge of. Once you're finished with your wireframe and your 2 mockups, you will send that to me via email. Once you email it to me, then I will respond to you so that I can tell you which one I want you to work on. So I'm going to act as the client. You're going to give me those 2 files or those 2 mockups, and I'm going to choose which one I like. And then from there, starting next week, I will teach you how to get started on this project and how to turn the design you have in your mockup into a reality by using the code of the HTML file and the CSS file from the Zen Garden website. Have fun this week, and I can't wait to see what you come up with. Have a good day.